Thompson's there, Billy in. A goal, Chris Billy, Huddersfield Town. The most famous goal of Chris Billy's life.
Is this the moment for Lee Fowler? It is. Take your place in Division 2, Huddersfield Town.
Ruby and Steve Simonson's boots now. He's missed. Steve Simonson clears the frame of the goal and collapses in a heap of tears. Huddersfield Town are promoted.
Mustafa Schindler has a chance to write his name in Huddersfield Town legend. And he takes that chance!
Hello and welcome back to the Andy Takes That Chance podcast. It's that time of year where you head up into the loft, get the decorations, and the Christmas tree goes up. But the thing that you don't tell your significant other half is that it's not the Christmas tree that you bothered about going up, it's Huddersfield Town. Are we on track, or are our hopes looking a little forlorn? We'll take a look back at the latest game in HD1 where Huddersfield Town drew 3-3 with AFC Wimbledon. And joining me to do so is my partner in crime. It's the two-timing Ian Kilroy Silk. And all the way from the US of A, it's Jerry Hinnan. And a big one, welcome back to the podcast. It's the best thespian in Huddersfield, or from Huddersfield. It's Danny Kirrane. How are you doing, Danny?
Yeah, I'm good. Good. Nice to join you again.
Good. Yeah, I've got your name right this time. I spent the last episode saying it wrong about 50 times. So
Everybody does. Don't worry, you're not the only person.
Good. Okay, so before we start this podcast, I want to send all of our love out to the Kosmala family. So for those who haven't seen our friend post online, our good pal Cozzy lost his dear old mum who used to listen to the podcast as well back in the day. Cozzy's a really good friend to all of us and a real sort of source of light and laughter, and it's a dark time for him at the moment. So I just want to send all of our love and energy to a really top guy and lovely family, and just to let Mrs. Kosmala know as well that her son means a lot to the people of this podcast, and that we'll look after that lovable bear and make sure that he's okay. So Kosmalas, we send you our very, very best. Okay, so from Cozzy to the Christmas tree. When's an acceptable time, would you say, to put the Christmas tree up, Killer? Because we had this conversation with Pozza, who, the kind of official YouTube channel stole our thunder a little bit, because we had the day before, I think Jay actually might have snuck a look in the old WhatsApp group and decided he was going to do it on the official channel, because me, Pozza, and you guys were having a discussion, because Poz likes to stick the tree up early, doesn't he? My mate Tom, his missus has her birthday, I think, at the start of November. I think it's like 1st or 2nd November, and the tree goes up as a Christmas present pretty much the day after. When is the acceptable time, Killer, to put the tree up? Because ours is going up today. Rachel and Charlie are upstairs putting the bits, the baubles on.
To be fair, Matt, I think traditionally the first weekend in December is where I'm at, right? However, I've got to come clear. I've got to come clean. I've got to be honest. Our trees have been up for a few weeks, and I will say this. I will say this only because, for marketing purposes only, we've got a Christmas range of vegan goodness, so we have to take photos early doors. That's the only reason. I do think we're up to 12 Christmas trees at the moment, though. And I came home from the football yesterday to see the garland up the staircase that appeared from somewhere. For me, prior to December, it's a little bit early, Matt, but I'm not anybody to
It's
judge.
the first tomorrow, isn't it? So this weekend, I think it's fine. Jerry, what about in America? What do you guys do? Because when I go to the Philippines, so my missus's mother, it lives in the Philippines. When I go there, they've got Christmas lights up in September, so it's a little bit wild out there. But what about America? How's the?
No, we have a very clear demarcation. We celebrate Thanksgiving, right, which is the last Thursday in November. So traditionally, I think most people would say that the Christmas season does not start until the weekend after Thanksgiving. So the last weekend in November, basically. And so that's what we've always observed. Now, as the years have gone by and more companies have realized that if they extend the Christmas season into mid-November, into early November, they can sell you various Christmas-themed items and articles ever earlier and make more money that way, because you don't stop buying Christmas related items and articles until Christmas. That has seemingly sort of pushed the beginning of the Christmas season earlier and earlier in the United States. So I would say, for me personally, it's the day after Thanksgiving is when Christmas starts. That's in our family. We have a strict no Christmas music policy until after Thanksgiving, or otherwise my children would be listening to Mariah Carey at least every other day throughout the entire year. And then it's not Christmas music anymore. Then at that point, it's just music. So we have a strict Christmas starts the day after Thanksgiving policy in our house. But if you travel around neighborhoods in the States, the week before Thanksgiving now, you'll see a fair amount of Christmas lights up and Christmas trees.
Sounds like Home Bargains has made its way to America, Danny, because that place is just absolutely full of Christmas stuff from September. How about you? Is your tree up, Danny? Because you've got a little one as well, same as...
Not up yet, but we talked about getting one today, and then we didn't get around to it, so maybe next weekend. But if it was up to me, I'd do it on the 20th of December, as late as possible. Just a bit of a Scrooge. Nah, I love Christmas. It is great when you got a little one. So yeah, I think we'll do it next weekend.
Christmas Sunday is definitely for kids, isn't it? And
yeah.
Football fans with all the fixtures. Right, so Huddersfield Town. Let's move on to matters. Defeating midweek to Luton has left the Terriers in a bit of a pickle, because we could have gone second depending on other results in midweek. Town failed to really hit their straps, and Luton weren't particularly impressive at the weekend either. So the game against Wimbledon became a little bit more important than maybe it would have done otherwise. Radinho Balka came back in to the side killer, which is what we wanted. Lyndon Gooch into central midfield, which is probably not what we wanted. But other than that, I think apart from Ben Wiles, we just expected, because he tends to play regardless. I think everything was sort of what we thought, what we hoped. Castledine starting was definitely good. And we did want that outlet on the left, didn't we, in Cam Ashir as well. So I think everything was just as we expected. And Town started the game fairly well, but we just couldn't quite find the net. And going back to Ashir, he was kind of bright, wasn't he, throughout, and forced a good save. There's a few things I noticed, and I'll come back to later, but I'll let you guys speak first. But how do you think Ashir did killer on the left-hand side, making his first proper start in the league?
I was quite surprised by that. I actually thought he must have started before now, but obviously he hasn't. I thought he was good. I think he brings a directness that only Mikael Miller brings, and even that's a little bit different. I love Cam Ashir. I love the way he plays. I love the way he runs with the ball. He's quite open when he runs. So even when you're watching it on TV, having as a replay, having been there on the day, it's impossible to know which way he's going to go, because the ball's quite far outside the center of his body, so he can go inside or he can go outside at any moment. And I think that's a nightmare for defenders to try and counter, as Wimbledon found out yesterday. It was in and out of the game, which is what you expect with a young lad. But for that first 20 minutes, like you say, Matt, Town started pretty well. I thought we started okay. He's frantic normally in the first 15 minutes of games, and I don't really think that ever kind of betrays how the rest of the game's going to go. Sometimes you can start great for 15 minutes and it drops off and it's a totally different game there on out. We did okay without really being incisive in any particular fashion. It was a bit similar, Matt, I thought, to how we started the season off, where we'd start well in games sometimes, not all games. We had a period where we refused to start very well at all. But it's where we kind of had the ball, had the possession, but didn't really look like creating extreme amounts of simple chances to finish off. It was just kind of like we controlled the game fine, and Wimbledon didn't really know how to defend against us. I think they were quite shocked, Matt, with how we did line up with Ashir on the left-hand side, in that, okay, they'll have seen him a few times and know he cuts in on his right to shoot, because I can't remember what the fullback was who was marking him, or wing-back in that back five system, but for the first 45 minutes, he tried to show him outside all the time. He was just focused on showing him the outside, and that's fine. One thing that we did struggle with in that first 20 minutes, though, Matt, was we've spoke about Balka, in that when he plays as centre-back and brings the ball out into midfield, we look a total different team. But even in that first 15 minutes where we were good, a lot of the work was down the wings, right? Nothing really was coming down the middle. Balka didn't have that ability to drive it down the middle for a couple of reasons for me. No Harness is a big miss. And Gooch, like you say, Matt, we did expect him to go in there, but he wasn't great against Wickham. And I don't think he was great at all again. After a positive start, I think he tired pretty quickly. And there were no options there in the middle, so it was a big gap again. Balka couldn't get the ball into it because Wimbledon were countering that. and we started well without starting great. I think that's the best way I could put it. Wimbledon did get better after they settled down, but no, Kamasha, just back to your original point, I thought he's good and now of an age, maybe not an age, maybe of experience, that he's deserving of the start. It showed throughout the game. He kept coming in and out of it, which is important because I think sometimes, Matt, like Gooch in the first half, first 15 minutes were really, really good from him, I thought. Again, busy, but then he got burnt out a little bit, and for the rest of that half, didn't really throw much in. Whereas with Kamasha, whilst he started well and then he drifted out, he drifted back in. And that's quite rare for a young lad. Normally, if you kind of hit the periphery of the game, you don't really come back into it. But Kamasha, until the 90th minute, was still within the play, which was good to see.
Yeah, he got his second win for sure. Danny, Ashley is kind of like an exciting player, isn't he? He's frustrating. There's a few things I noticed. He kind of runs very direct. He's almost has the blinkers on, doesn't he? And he's going straight for goal. And I noticed a couple of times Ruben Ruskin tried to overlap him, and he couldn't because Ashley was just down the line too fast. He didn't quite read the situation. And I think it's Asimwe, the right wing back, who had him. And I think after a little while, he kind of not pocketed him, but kind of knew to show him down the outside, and he knew that Ashley was a little bit inexperienced. But I thought overall he did fairly well, or slightly better than maybe what you could expect. When it's a new partnership with Ruskin and stuff, things take time, don't they, to bed in. But overall, I thought we can be happy with that, and we've got I think we've got a genuine option there that can start and come on and alter different games in different scenarios.
It's good to have someone with some pace and be direct, especially now Miller's going to be out for a while again. So, and I feel like what I like about young players like that is although they go in and out of games, they are unpredictable as well for the opposition because they don't know him that well. So I think he will be useful throughout this season. And I just love that he's got the confidence at that age to, we've seen it a few times in the cup and that, to come inside and have a shot and put it in the far corner. I think that's quite. I think he could be really good. Obviously, he needs the right coaching and the right people around him in the game. But I think he's a great asset, especially in League One. I think you need that direct thing sometimes. So definitely, he's great.
100%. Jerry, your view from the US is always via iFollow, isn't it? Apart from when you can get over here, which you have done a few times. So for just finish off on Asher, and then we'll move on to Dion Charles, really. Cause when I did the player ratings, it's kind of like he was good, he wasn't good, he was good, he wasn't good, and it's a real sort of like mishmash across the board. And I don't really want to go in hard on anyone because it was a weird game. It was like someone said to me, he said, "Oh, 3-3, that must have been good," and I just said, "Not really." It was just more frustrating than good. I mean, you look back now and you can see the goals, and you think, "Do you know what? I probably should have been more entertained by that than I was." But I think when you score 3 times at home to Wimbledon, and no offense to Wimbledon, but when you score 3 times at home in League One, and your aspiration is to get automatic promotion as per the owner, and you don't, it's kind of, I don't think you can be. I don't know. I think if that was in the Championship, I'd be fairly entertained and quite happy. But because it's in League One and there's such pressure, to go up and get promoted, and the money that he's spending, he's not going to go on forever. At some point, he's just going to go, right, enough's enough. So it kind of feels like you're a little bit time boxed in some ways, that things have got to go right fairly soon. Otherwise, the money and the interest might dry up. And I know that might not be the case. But where I'm going with that is I probably should have been more entertained. But tell us about Asher. And then tell us about Dion Charles, because he had that one-on-one chance and he's had a good run. But yesterday, he kind of felt a bit more like post-goals Dion in some ways than after.
Yeah.
Or pre-goals Dion, sorry.
Right, yeah. Ashley, just really quickly, the thing that stands out to me is how terrified defenders are of him. Like, because he's so quick. He is very physical, as Danny mentioned. He is not afraid of a little bit of contact, and just being able to sort of pin that the opposition right back because they know how quick he is, and they know that he will score goals if they let him into space. We've seen it happen already. I think that has really positive knock-on effects for the entire rest of the attack. Like, I'm sure we'll get into this, but on the whole, Town's attack had a fantastic game. Like, they produced tons of shots. They scored 3 very good non-fluky goals there in the second half. Like, and I think Well, all right, a little bit of a flukiness for the first part, but still, it was a good game for the attack, and I think Ashley was definitely a big part of that by pulling, Wimbledon's defense out of shape a little bit. Dion Charles maybe not as much a part of that. I thought, it's funny that you talk about Matt. Well, we say, we're judging the performance sort of against this backdrop of expectation and promotion and that sort of thing. And you could almost do the same thing with Charles, where he did some good things yesterday. Like, I thought he was involved. I thought he was active. Definitely, I would say more so than in some of his earlier performances for Town, where he just wasn't a part of the game at all. But the problem was that just he did not have a good game with the ball at his feet. Like, he had opportunities, I think, to play some passes that didn't come off. He had opportunities to hold the ball up in the attacking third, especially in that first half, that didn't come off. And then, he did not score off the one real chance that was presented to him. I do think that chance was more difficult maybe than it seemed at first. On the replay, their keeper, Bishop, gets out to him really quick. There is not a lot of space between Charles and Bishop to actually get that shot away. I think the move there was probably to try and go around him, maybe play a pass. I don't know if there was something on there or not. But simply taking it sort of like first time the way Charles did, that would have been a very difficult chance to take, just because Bishop was on him so quickly. And, like all goalkeepers at this level, he's got a lot of size. There just wasn't really a good shooting angle, it seemed like, watching on the replay for that one. So I'm a little bit sort of sympathetic to Charles on that particular chance. But overall, the performance, I think, just wasn't sharp enough on the ball for him.
Yeah, and then Ledson hits the bar with a header. It reminded me of Jonathan Hogg when he used to make that near post run, and he scored against Millwall and Bournemouth off the top of my head. He scored a couple there. Unlucky, hits the bar. Castledine then takes another one. What made me laugh is someone sat near you, Killer, just shouted at one point, "Why are we so shit from set pieces?" And like, we'd created that, we'd hit the crossbar. I think Bojan had one saved, and then Balker almost scored, and then there was one where Castledine kind of takes it off of Bojan's toes, doesn't he, as Bojan's about to roll it in. I mean, we are one of the better sides from set pieces in the league. Might not be as good as what we used to be when Sorba Thomas was whipping them in, Carlos Corberán, etc. But in that first half, Town have had 12 shots, 3 on target. I mean, there's been games this season where we've barely had 12 shots. So as a half, it wasn't too bad. 3 on target, 2 big chances, and then Wimbledon score with virtually their first attack. And our man Balker, Killer, I mean, this is the bad side of Balker, isn't it? He's crap in the air. I mean, we said that when he first came and we did our signed, sealed, delivered on him years ago. He's not good in the air. We saw it last year when Tom Eaves, who's a very, very average League One striker, beasted him. And then the ball goes up and under, and he just kind of gets a bit stuck under it. And to be fair, it's a hell of a touch from the guy up front for Wimbledon. And then Ruskin shows his weakness as well. He switches off. He can switch off, can't he, defensively? And he's switched off massively there. And they've gone in and rolled it over. And I think just to add to that, Feeney runs towards goal rather than runs towards his man as well. And then you look at that and thinking, well, there's 3 players there who perhaps could have done better. But it kind of starts with Balker really there, doesn't it, Killer?
There's 2 more errors, actually, Max. I think the initial play comes from Sorensen playing the ball into the middle, getting the ire of the Town fans who were complaining about that. That's how the turnover of possession happens first time around. But I think Charles deflects the long ball, and that's where it kind of goes up and under, and Balker makes an absolute mess of it. But I thought it was Ruskin, and I thought it was all Ruskin. However, looking back, right, it's Ledson's man. So what happens is Ruskin goes to press high initially. Ledson tucks in behind Ruskin. As they're dropping back, Ruskin's still marking one of the guys, and Ledson then just leaves him to go. It's actually, for me, a miscommunication between Ruskin and Ledson. If Ledson turns around and tells Ruskin to get back and get his man, because, it was a traditional kind of position where your left back should be taking him on, but he had just pressed. It's Ledson's to sit, and he doesn't sit. So for me, Matt, there's 5 players. There's 5 errors there. Feeney, the thing with Balker, though, is you and I, all of us here, know Balker, when it's those kind of balls, he isn't great at them. So you have to start backing up and just protect him in case he misses it. Feeney does. So you'll actually watch by the replay back again. Feeney starts dropping, so he's in the right position. But Ledson and Ruskin, whoever you want to blame doesn't on the other side, and that's unfortunately where it comes from. Feeney could have done a little bit better, like you say, Matt, following the man rather than the ball, but it was pretty quick and pretty clinical from Wimbledon.
It's a small complaint.
Yeah, there's a small window for him to get there. I don't particularly blame him too much, Matt, but talk about smash and grab. I think that's the common theme for the entire game, isn't it? It's just smash and grab, in that Town kind of dominate in different ways as the game go on, but every single time Wimbledon got a chance, they just popped it away. Every time. It was clinical to the max. I think the XG at the end of the game, I think Town's about 4, and Wimbledon, having scored 3, was still only 1.3 or 1.4. It was quite small in that regard. Not that I like XG. I'm not going to pretend I'm a lover of that. But this was the start of the template for the rest of the game, where Town did well. Wimbledon had half a chance from a clear mistake from Town, and they'd take advantage of it. But that's what professional football is, isn't it? If you make a mistake, however small, and nobody else reads that mistake's going to be made, then you concede goals, and you cannot concede goals as freely as Town are doing, game in and game out at the moment. We'll talk about where that blame lays, of course, but you can't do that and expect a positive season at the end. You just can't, because what gets me, though, guys, is no one gives us goals like this. Why don't we get these kind of goals?
No.
And quickly, Matt, on set pieces, we're really good at attacking set pieces. I just don't understand when the disconnect's there when defending set pieces. That's something that baffles me. From corners, we're good attacking wise, but defensively, we're not great. There's a disconnect there as well to work out. But now, talk about smash and grab. Falling 1-0 behind there was ridiculous, because we should have been, Matt, as you've mentioned. I reckon 2-0 up by that point. Ledson's, I think, should have been in, to be honest. He was pretty free there. And Charles, I know it was harder, Jerry, than I think what a lot of people thought. From our angle, Matt, in the stadium, I think he could have put it between the keeper's legs pretty quick, and he didn't. I think it was...
gone around him. I thought he should have gone around him,
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, 1-0 at half-time, Danny, and you sat there kind of wondering, how are we behind in this game? But, I mean, it's really awkward to sort of judge this one game by itself, isn't it? Because you've got all the other games this season, all the other frustrations as well, that boil over it from the other games into this game, and there's still that sort of lack of trust between the Town fans towards Lee Grant as well. So when you're 1-0 down and you've played on paper fairly well, but when you're in the ground or you're watching it wherever, you sat there annoyed because Town, because they're bloody pain in the ass is what they had done as well.
It feels like a mixture of all those things. It's like, obviously, the history this season, it has been frustrating this season. I loved when we changed it and went 4-4-2, and we obviously had those positive results there. It feels like we're sliding back a little bit now. But I think, like, sometimes in League One, it is, you've got to take your chances, and you've got to keep them, got to stop them having, getting in there. I mean, obviously, sometimes luck's involved. They've finished those 3 chances, but did they deserve to really have 3 goals? Probably not. So, yeah, in hindsight. But I think Bolker is, I love watching Bolker when he's on the ball. And I think if we protect him properly, I think he's got to play for me if he's fit. Obviously, we'd have to be careful because obviously he just gets injured so often, but he does make such a difference in possession most of the time. And obviously he's not great in the air, but I think there's ways around that. He's a joy with the ball at his feet. I mean, I wonder if he could play midfield. I don't know.
I thought he could play halfback for a while.
I think so.
Number 6,
he'd be great getting the ball there, and he's so confident with it. He's more confident than most of our midfield players on the ball. So, maybe that's another option to try. Who knows?
It'd be interesting. It'd probably end like the time we put Yuta Nakayama in midfield, because he could play the ball at the back and he looked completely out of his depth today, bless him.
Yeah.
Good player though. Jerry, you were watching it as well, and I think you were on WhatsApp, and I think you were less down on it than maybe we were in the ground, weren't you, after watching that? I think sometimes you can be affected by those around you and stuff, can't you? But when you're watching it over there, you were probably a bit more positive than us, I think, from remembering back.
Positive about the second half, definitely. I don't know about the first half. Like, I would sort of disagree a little bit with Killer that, we should have been ahead 2-0 at half. I think 0-0 or maybe 1-1 would have been fair score lines, because Town had a lot of chances, as you pointed out, Matt. They had 12 shots in that half. None of them were really gilt-edged, like, oh, that's got to be put away kind of chances. Charles, I think, was probably the most open one. And, like I said, I think that was a more difficult chance than it appeared at first glance. So, it was a case of, a little bit of what Town did to Luton to some extent in the first half in midweek, where Town had a lot of the ball, a lot of the possession, a lot of these half chances, but never really created the one gilt-edged opportunity. Like the best chance of the first half was Wimbledon's on that, breakdown by Ruskin and Ledson. So, I don't know if I would say I felt like Town deserved to have the lead at that point. I would say Town definitely deserved to have the lead at the end of the second half. I thought the second half was really, really good on Town's part. And they were unfortunate not to come away with the win. So I would say, positive on that aspect. The first half, maybe not as much. It was one of those cases, I think, where, and I think this is to some extent to Lee Grant's credit and the players' credit, that, they had a lot of the ball in the first half, but couldn't really break Wimbledon down. And they came out after halftime and in a lot of ways did sort of figure out, okay, this is what we need to do to not just have the ball, not just take these kinds of half shots from, around the box or the edges of the box. In the second half, like I said, they ended up producing several really, really good chances and they got 3 goals out of it.
We'll go into the second half as well. Half time, the president of the Ben Wiles fan club came up to me at half time and for a quick chat, and he said, I'd put Ben Wiles on here, and I just looked at him in the way that I look at him when I sometimes. And to his credit, Killer gets most things right. It's an annoying habit of his. And Ben Wiles came on, and do you know what? He was bloody good for 15-20 minutes, wasn't he? He was really good. I mean, I don't think Lyndon Gooch, he started off like a dog in a park, did Lyndon Gooch. Do you know where the dog smells piss and he's like everywhere? It's like all over. He's looking at all the different smells and stuff. And Gooch was like really active, wasn't he? I'm not saying that Gooch was running off smelling piss everywhere, but he was really active and he was all over the place, wasn't he? And positive. And then he kind of, like Killer said, he kind of dipped out and maybe he overexerted. I don't know. But it wasn't working really in the middle of the park. I thought it was harsh taking Sorensen off because I thought Sorensen played all right, to be fair. But to Lee Grant's credit, the change worked. Gooch played really well at right back, and Ben Wiles played really well for sort of until he scored. Actually, I thought Ben Wiles was really effective, and I think what he was really good at was picking the ball up and playing it forward quickly, and that's what we lacked due to Harness not playing, and that's just what Gooch and Ledson weren't particularly giving us. And for a while, things started to click and work really well. Just going back onto that slice of luck, Jerry. I mean, it's a brilliant assist from Cam Ashier, isn't it, for the goal for Stuart Castledine?
Absolutely brilliant. Yes.
I mean, the fake shot past that. But let's talk about Castledine because he's inconsistent. I mean, we were having this chat on the Discord, and I think some people are really high on him, and I don't blame them. He's a good player. But I think he's inconsistent, and that's what you get with a 20-year-old loanee as well. I was looking back through some of the player ratings I give them, and okay, my player ratings might not be amazing, etc. But it goes something like it gets a 7, then it gets a 4, 5, 4, 5, 7, 4, 5, 4, 5, 8, 4. So it's kind of hot and cold. But I think that's what you kind of get with a flair player like that anyway, and especially at that age. And this is one of those games where he was really excellent, and that snap finish is brilliant. He hits the post a little bit later on, and he was electric at points, wasn't he? And I think when you play a left winger like Ashier, who's going to get wide and he's going to stretch the play and he's going to stretch Wimbledon's midfield across, it just gives Castledine that space to come in a little bit and do what he does really well. And Gooch and Sorensen have to perform that overlap to create the outlet on the right hand side to allow him to do it. And it's a machine that works well for him to get him into the game and into the areas which he likes. And Ben Wiles playing the ball into him, excellent. Gooch on the overlap was brilliant. Second half, Cam Ashier, it was in and out of the game, but the fact that he would take the ball and he would play wide and stretch the game also allowed the space for Castledine as well. And Stuart, I always call him by his dad's name, Leo Castledine. What I liked was none of this crap. Full on Jordan Rhodes, wasn't it? None of this rubbish about not scoring against your ex club. Get in there. His dad's a legend at Wimbledon, Stuart Castledine, obviously. Yeah. And then he kind of places the ball in the bottom corner. It's a nice finish. Little bit of a scuff, maybe not. But it's a nice finish either way. It's right in the corner. and he's off celebrating. You know what I mean? No, and I love that. And he was brilliant on the day, Danny. Wasn't he? He was electric.
Yeah, I really like him. I know I think it's hard for those flair players because they might get a 4 or 5, but that might be because the whole team's played badly as well.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
They don't get the ball. I think he's he can make the difference in games for us. He's just got that bit of flair and that bit of quality to score some of the goals he does and the free kicks. And yeah, I think he's exciting to watch. I love him, and I think he works hard as well. I don't think he goes missing. He might struggle when we're not playing well because those players like that, those flair players always do. But I think, if we can get him on the ball in the right positions, I think he can cause problems for anybody any day. And he can obviously finish. He's put a few away now, so yeah, he's great.
I'm not saying what you called him in the WhatsApp chat, Jerry. It was completely inappropriate, but he's an exciting player, isn't he? And he's one of those where you kind of like, how good could he get? And that's the interesting thing, isn't it? And you kind of sit there and wonder if we were to do quite well, and maybe if we get, I don't want to say the P word, but promoted, etc. at some point, could we hold on to him? Could he be an asset that we could, because Kevin Nagel would probably be happy to spend some money on him, maybe not a silly amount. So, Jerry, just going back to Castledine, you kind of sit there and you kind of hope. I know football fans dream a little bit, don't you? But you kind of sit there thinking, oh, maybe he's a little bit inconsistent, and maybe if we get promoted, and you kind of talk yourself into keeping him permanently. But you should never fall in love with a lone player. That's rule number 1, isn't it? Surely.
Well, we fell in love with Aaron Moy, and that worked out pretty well. So
Yeah,
I don't want to say never. He seems to me like the sort of player that, yes, Chelsea is looking to sort of loan out until somebody is willing to pay real money to buy him. And if that ends up being Town, I would certainly be okay with that. I think he's the sort of player that can get you a goal out of nothing. And those kinds of players are really valuable. And particularly at the League One level, there aren't a lot of those kinds of players in this division. And I mean, I don't think Town really have another one, certainly of his caliber. Like, we've gotten goals out of Wilds, we've gotten goals out of Bojan, Ashia, etc. Castledine is the one player, or at least the first player in the squad I would pick to say, well, we're a goal down, nothing's really going right. Maybe we can just conjure something out of pixie dust and, a random, deflection of the ball or something. Castledine would be the player I would pick to get a goal out of that kind of situation. But he is also, a really good finisher. I don't think there was anything, obviously, Ashia getting the ball to him, there was an element of good fortune about that. Yes. I don't think there was anything fortunate about Castledine's finish there. I think he got it straight into the corner. Obviously, the goal against Luton's going to be yet another goal of the season contender. We talk about him having flair, and that's really the kind of player he is. He's the sort of player that when you buy your ticket, or in certain cases pay for your iFollow subscription, he's the sort of player you want to see on the field and feel like you're going to get some kind of return, for the money that you're spending to watch Huddersfield Town. He was, again, really, really good in this game. Probably Town's brightest offensive spark. I would be 100% behind as long as, the terms weren't too exorbitant, keeping him around beyond this season, definitely.
exorbitant, Thomas. Yeah, so 1-1. And I said to him, and then we give away a stupid free kick. I mean, Balka in the air again it's a silly free kick, but there's still something to defend. And I joked to my mate I sat next to Tom. I joked to him. I said, "Watch this go through Goodman's hands." And just smiled. Just because usually when you say that, it doesn't happen. It's like a counter curse, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? It's these silly little football superstitions, etc., isn't it? And then he and then he does it. But the free kick. I mean, Lee Grant said afterwards, and this isn't me saying it. Lee Grant said afterwards that the wall wasn't set up correctly. That's the goalkeeper's job. The free kick isn't great. And one thing, and I don't want us to go in too hard on Goodman, because I think Lyndon Gooch and Ryan Ledson did that for us straight after the goal went in. But I just watched him at the end of the game, and he dropped the ball at the end of the game, and we almost lost it, which was a bad error. and people wonder why he doesn't try and catch, why he punches and doesn't try and catch it. But I watched him at the end of the game, and he stood there, and he just looked so sad, and he just looked so upset with himself. He threw his gloves on the ground, and everyone from Wimbledon came up and hugged him. Basically, the Wimbledon fans tried to cheer him up. I think some town fans were giving him some stick, and I just felt so sorry for the guy, because we've all been there, haven't we? In maybe, Danny, you're on stage and you forget your lines, and everyone goes, "Who's this fucking whopper?" You know, but he just feel like I wasn't keen on him being brought back in the first place, because I didn't think Lee Nicholls had done anything wrong. I know Goodman plays the ball with his feet quicker than Lee Nicholls, and that is the draw, the attraction to getting him in. He'll play the ball quicker into defence. The defence will play quicker into midfield, and will be on the attack quicker. I understand that's why he's been brought back in, and he is better with his feet than Lee Nicholls. He's just not better with his hands, and that's the issue he's got. And like I said, I don't want to hammer the guy, but when he came back in, he was the Virtue Trophy against Mansfield. He pushes the ball out to the striker again, and this is such a basic thing when you're goalkeeping. This is the most basic of basic things. Push the ball away from goal when you're making a save. Push it away. And he's done it several times this season where he pushes it back out. He did it against Luton. He pushed it out. He didn't push it away. And he's done it again. He's misjudged it, and he's overdived. I think he's still mentally a little bit rattled. Well, very rattled now, but rattled from Barnsley. And I think he's in goal. And I think in his head, he's thinking, I need to show these fans what I can do. And he's overstretching for things. And he's just gone too far trying to make an amazing save, which he didn't need to make. And he's gone too far, and he's pushed it back out. I mean, the backup's not great. Ledson and Gucci were having a go at him. They weren't fast. But to be fair, a goalkeeper shouldn't be pushing that back to his goal mouth. It should not be happening. And I just think there's a guy there who's so desperate to play well that it's just affecting him so badly at the minute. And I feel for the guy. That's why I don't really want to go in on him. But there's the Mansfield goal, there's the Luton goal, there's this goal, there's the Harrogate and Barnsley. There's so many errors at the minute where you just have to say, look, he's got to come out the side just to get his head straight, if anything. And we've got a competent goalkeeper in Lee Nicholls who'll play. And I just at this moment think for his own good, he just needs taking out of the side again. Because if he plays against Cardiff next week and costs us the game, I mean, these are the things that can ruin careers. Look at Ryan Schofield, for example. He came in at Huddersfield, did so well, had some really bad games. Mentally, he's gone and he's never recovered. You know, there are players who mentally go under the strain and pressure, then never get back to the level that they should have. Ryan Schofield's one of them. Scott Hyde. There's all sorts. And there's all sorts of players away from Huddersfield as well. And I just think at this moment, the right thing to do is just to take him back out and then reassess where we are in January. I mean, if Lee Nicholls has a stinker, then I'm not sure where we go, because I'm not, as everyone knows, I'm not a Jacob Chapman believer at all. But at the minute, the question you would ask is not whether Goodman should be number one, it's whether he should be number two. And that's not an ideal situation at the minute. I feel for the guy, so I don't want to delay the point so much, but I just think for his own good, Killer, it's probably the best time to take him back out now.
I don't think having two number ones is good for keepers. No. I don't think that pressure of somebody underneath, especially as the younger keeper, and Nicholls, as Glennon were talking about after the game on Radio Leeds, was player of the month and then dropped through nothing to do with his own performances. For Goodman to come in, I'm pretty sure, Matt, and I think most of us were pretty sure Nicholls wasn't going to be here this season. And when Goodman comes in, I think most of us thought, well, that means Nicholls must be going, because Goodman did really well last year at Wimbledon. Yeah. He deserves to start somewhere in this division, because obviously he got promotion last year from the division below with a record, a number of clean sheets. Best goalkeeper
in the league. Best goalkeeper in the
league. Yeah, he was in Team of the Year, wasn't he? Right. So for him to come to us, but then have Nicholls chasing him for the number one shirt, a guy that got us to, well, was a part of a playoff final team, a guy that the fans absolutely love. It's a tough situation for him to find himself in, Matt. And I think that can't be underplayed when you come in to talk about how his performances have gone. He has mentally gone. I think that's what's happened. And I think the attention to detail a keeper needs to have now on the field when they're setting walls and setting defensive lines, Matt, because the free kick later on in the game, I have issues with as well. But for this especially, to not set your wall up correctly is inexcusable. It's inexcusable. The ball goes a foot wide of the wall. and it still is within 2 foot of the post. It's not like it's just going to scrape the post and go in either. The wall is so far off where it should be. No keeper should have that happen at this level. I don't care how old you are. I don't care how good you are at shot stopping. Setting your wall up, Matt, is something you learn as soon as you start to play as a goalkeeper. And for it to be so far wrong, as that was, that's the bigger issue, not the saving it back into play, although Gooch and Ledson are so pissed with him, like you say, Matt, with him. And you could see them kind of showing him to shove it out. They were actually berating him, not only verbally, but showing where he should
showing what to do with the hands.
That's what they were doing.
Goodman had no idea. It's like, was I supposed to push it away? Oh,
so they're obviously the players know that he has a tendency to do this, and Wimbledon will know. They've seen him last year in training. I'm pretty sure he's done this at times there as well, and that's why they were on it. Gooch and Ledson should have done better tracking back. They were miles away from it, but the wall setting's the issue for me on this one. You shouldn't have been able to curl it around the wall that easily on that side, and it was a pretty routine save for him to push out wide, Matt. There was so many issues with it, but again, for me, I don't think this situation is good for Goodman. I think it's a poor situation that he's found himself in. And I think that's something that the club's done. That's on League Grant or the transfer committee, whatever we have at the moment in regards to keeping Lee Nichols, giving him a new contract as well, which again, you're a young keeper coming in where you've got a club legend. And I will put Nichols in that category. I know he's not Johnny Ogg levels, but when he does leave, when he leaves and move on, he'll be, you probably got, if you could give a bronze award to legends, maybe that's where he's at. Right?
Bronze award. It's like there's levels out. There's like legends, cult heroes, and then like fan favorites, that kind of thing. Yeah,
fan favorite. Let's go with that one, Matt. But that's what he is. Any tiny mistake, people are going to be on his back, and that's what has happened. And it was happening before these mistakes as well, Matt. People wanted Lee Nichols in the goal from the moment Goodman signed, so he was always going to be fighting an uphill battle. And when you make a mistake, more people are going to say more things. And when you're a young lad and you're facing this kind of pressure for the first time, because he was bona fide number one last year at Wimbledon, and I think he was before at Colchester, wasn't he? I don't think there was any threat there for him to not be the keeper
at Colchester.
He did have a bad time there, and when we did the signed sealed delivered, Matt, we did speak about his mentality from that time period, but at Wimbledon it looked like he sorted it out. Playing in front of Lee Nichols and the pressure that we all know Lee Nichols wants to start as well. Normally you have a keeper that's a backup, an older boy in his 30s, an older lad in his 30s that are kind of accepting that transition into coaching. Lee Nichols ain't that. He wants to play. He's very clear that he wants to play, and he talks about wanting to play. Yeah, he's mentioned before helping out younger keepers, but he still wants to play. Not a nice situation for Goodman, and for his benefit and his career alone, Matt, it's the right time to take him out and let Nichols go with it.
I mean, do you reassess in January as well, Danny? Do you sort of look at that and think?
I think this goes back to this. This touches on loads of things. I think the fact that he's good with his feet when we're playing in League One, and it's a bit of a farmers' league sometimes, it's not enough for him to start for me in this league. If you're in a championship where you need to be better and control possession, but we do have possession a lot of the time, but we're not that good. We're not Man City. I just think get Nichols in and you need that solidity and that experience in that position. And I think, I don't want to berate Goodman. I don't think it's on him. I think it's on Lee Grant. I think Nichols should be playing. I just think if I was a centre half, I know I'd want behind me.
I mean, when you've got Radinho Balca as well at the back, Jerry, you don't really need a ball-playing goalkeeper, do you? Because you just tap it to Balca and he
do it.
He drops the shoulder, skins his man, and just up into midfield, doesn't he? It's just.
I mean, it's wanting the ball-playing goalkeeper. I understand, and I particularly understand that from Lee Grant's perspective, where he says, like, you can say it's good, you can say it's bad, but that is the way that Lee Grant wants to play. And Lee Grant has to adhere to his philosophy that he believes is going to produce results, for this club. But that can't come at the cost of making mistakes that cost Huddersfield Town points. Like, on one side, how many points are we going to gain through Goodman's distribution, right? Versus how many points are we going to lose from Goodman making errors? And at this point, those scales are not remotely even. We have lost more points. I think we've lost 3 this week. I mean, I don't want to, go in on him. Like you say, Matt.
I'd suggest 4 points. 3 points, Jerry.
3,
I think you're right.
Yeah, because we gave up the draw to Luton and we lost the 2 against Wimbledon that I think are down to goalkeeper errors. I just think that's the facts of the case, is that I think without those 2 goalkeeping errors, Town have 3 more points this week. And that sucks to say because I totally agree with you that Goodman has been put in an awful position. Everything Danny and Killer, you guys said, I think is 100% accurate. And it's not worth it. The scales are not balanced right now in terms of the positives and the negatives.
Danny, if we had those 3 points that Jerry mentioned, we'd be 5th. And I think the entire outlook towards Lee Grant would be completely different if we were in the top 6. And I think at some point Lee Grant, as a goalkeeper himself, and did you see that touch of Lee Grant, Killer, first half as well? The ball came down like touch, and he dropped it, didn't he? Like he was Pep Guardiola. It was an unbelievable touch from Lee Grant, and then just nonchalantly knocked it back to the guy who was taking the throw in. I was like I said, Tom, did you just see that touch? Right touch, unbelievable, Jody Morris levels, but. It was, I mean, at some point he's got to look at that and think, do you know what? If I make the wrong decisions more often than not, it could cost me my job. And I think at this point he's got to play the odds a little bit better, hasn't he?
Yeah.
And I
Just
think that
making
might
those
be one
decisions
thing
quicker.
we're not. Yeah, we're just
It's
not
a bit
quite.
it's a bit like when we went to 4-4-2. I think we could all see it before he did it. I think he waited a bit too long to do that, and I feel like that has helped. I feel like we're a more dangerous team in that 4-4-2 because of some of the things you said earlier. But I think solidity is so important, and it's confidence in your keeper. They're not always called on all the time, but you need to be confident that they're not going to make those mistakes. Especially the defenders need to be confident of that. And I think, it is League One, and so in an ideal situation, your identity might be let's knock it about and play like Barcelona or whatever you want to play like. But actually, most of the time, teams don't allow you to do that in this league. So I'd rather have the old head there.
Yeah, I don't think I'd say to. I mean, any Huddersfield fans listening, just it's a young goalkeeper. Don't batter him too much. I mean, it's not going to help anyone.
It's not his fault. It's not his fault.
He needs
We're
support.
all rooting for Owen Goodman here. Like,
we all want him to do well.
What's best, not just for Huddersfield Town. We all want literally what is best for Owen Goodman. Unfortunately, what is best for Owen Goodman right now is to have a seat for a little while, get his head right, and come back to be number one, whether that's at Huddersfield Town, whether that's at somewhere else. That's what we all want to see for him. But the time has come that he can't be number one for Huddersfield Town right this second. Like, I don't think that's feasible at this point.
Do you know, I should have looked at the stats for this, but I can't remember the last time Huddersfield Town went a goal down 3 times in the same game and came back 3 times. I think Lee Grant was searching for some credit after the game on Radio Leeds for that, and to be fair, he probably deserves some to the team for that, because I think there are times this season where they'd have gone 1 or 2 down, or gone 1 down twice and thrown the towel. So I think things have turned a little bit in that respect, and it turns again when Lyndon Gooch puts the ball on Ben Wiles's head. It's actually a good goal, this Jerry. The first cross comes from the left. I think it's a wild one, isn't it, from Asher, if I remember correctly, or maybe Ruskin, I can't remember. Yeah, and it's towards Bojan, and Bojan can't quite reach it. Bojan had a strange game, I thought. It was kind of like not that noticeable, but when you watch the highlights back, he's kind of like there doing decent enough things. He's kind of like an average 6 out of 10 job, wasn't he? He can't get it, and then Gooch picks it up on the other side, and then Bojan makes a decoy run, which opens a space for Wiles. And it's a good header, and Ben Wiles had played really well up to that point and deserved his goal. And it was like Doncaster all over again, Jerry, where you bring him off the bench and he looks like he's got a point to prove, and he did it. Fair play to him.
No, I think what we have learned from the moment Marcus Harness came in to play that role alongside Ryan Letson, and then from what happened in this game when we moved Gooch out of the middle, where that's not his forte. He had a bad first half in that role. I totally agree with that. And moved Ben Wiles more into that spot where we have somebody who's willing to play these forward passes, play more progressively. We know that spot belongs to a more sort of progressive midfielder. Like we don't need any more Kasumus in that spot. We don't need probably even McGuane theoretically if he ever heals well enough to play that spot. That's not what we're looking for. We need Harness. We need a Wiles. We need somebody in that spot who can play a forward pass. And that's when the season kind of like we pulled out of the tailspin was when Marcus Harness moved in that spot. And obviously other things happened as well, went to the 4-4-2, etc. But for me, Wiles' performance in the second half really drove that home, where you have, that dynamism in the midfield, not just like, okay, we're going to disrupt things and make things hard for our opponent, but that we're going to have a player in there who can start an attack, who can finish it, as we saw on that header. Just adds so much more unpredictability and dynamism. And I thought that was kind of the key to, again, I thought the first half was, decent, but, lacked that sort of cutting edge. We brought in Wiles, and there's your cutting edge right there, is a midfielder making that late run, popping up in the box, and finishing, again, a superb cross from Gooch there. That's what was missing from that first half. And that goal sort of showed you, okay, this is why we need a player like Wiles in that spot.
Did the guy behind you enjoy it, Killer?
Oh, brilliant. It was, honestly. So the goal comes and it starts, right, with Ben Wiles trying to head the ball back to a centre-back. And he nearly sent Wimbledon away. And a guy stood up behind me and said, "Fucking shite, Wiles," as loud as possible, right? I hate him, right? Anyway, obviously 40 seconds later, we score. He stands up and he goes, "I fucking love Wiles." And I don't like swearing too often on the main pod, but it was brilliant. I felt like standing up, turning around and shushing him. I felt like partaking in Wiles' celebration. To be fair, I'd have directed it at Matt as well at that point. But no, Wiles setting into that role changed the game for us. Bolker brings the ball out from the back and changes everything, but Wimbledon did counter that really, really well. And normally you have Harness there that could kind of do it as well, like you said, Jerry, but obviously he's not available. And Gooch, it's not his forte at all. Gooch looked like a lad. I was talking to Matt about this at half-time, where, do you know, like, manager, last 10 minutes of the game, you go, right, you have a go up front, and they work really hard because I'm up front for the first time ever. It can happen to fullback playing in midfield. It's exciting. You want to do the best you can. So Gooch was like that for 15 minutes. Ran his ass off, and then he was just knackered, and he couldn't really reset, and we looked totally different. Ben Wiles goes and sits between Bolker and Gooch quite a lot. I'd have taken anyone else off bar Sorensen, so fair play to Lee Grant, Matt, because Gooch going as that right back gave us a total different dimension that side than what Sorensen would have done, and that's a tactical change that I wouldn't have made. Grant did, and I've got to applaud him there because it did work. We looked much better down that right-hand side. But Wiles picking that ball up between Bolker and Gooch and just lifting the tempo, Jerry, that's what it was for me. It was just the entire pace of Town's attack changed, and that made it better for Asher on the left-hand side. It made it more unpredictable for Wimbledon, and they didn't adjust at all because they couldn't, because the way Town attacked for that period of the game, it changed when a substitution happened shortly after this. But there was just a period there where Town looked unpredictable. It was a little bit of chaos kind of attacking, and we looked good for it. Every time we went forward, it looked like we were going to score or we had a chance to win it. I honestly felt all the way throughout this game, Town could win, even no matter falling behind, even at 86 minutes when Mays, again, jumping your agenda here a little bit, Matt, when we get it back to 3-3 again, I'm still thinking we've got a chance here. It never felt like it was away from us. But that second half was so much better, Matt. But no, the guy behind me, people just hate Ben Wiles, and I still don't understand it. I still think it's because he visibly looks...
It's his body language.
He looks miserable, doesn't he? He looks miserable, and he huffs a lot, and he throws his arms about, and it's fine. But every manager we ever have plays him pretty much 90 minutes most games, right? I know he was subbing this time, and that's different. Every time he doesn't play, like Doncaster, like yesterday, the midfield just doesn't seem to work as well. And I think that's something that people ignore. You don't always have to look at individual performances to say if he's good or effective for the team, like a net benefit. And I think Ben Wiles in the Town team is when we always play better, is when we always create more chances, even if it's not him, even if he looks frustrated. For whatever else, everyone else has a little bit more space. And I think yesterday's second half showed that as well as any other game can.
There we go. Boys, what do you reckon? We can round that off, Danny, and then talk us through a silly free kick given away and Wimbledon put the ball across, and our friend Balker makes it 3-3 with another sort of misjudgment in the air. They should probably have a rework of who picks up who. To be fair, I think if Balker's playing, but yeah, Town go 2-2. Ben Wiles is playing quite well. I think Ben Wiles kind of stops playing well at this point. I think he kind of tails off a little bit. Stuart Castledine is playing really well at this point as well. Stuart, fuck, I've done it again. Liam Castledine. Do you know, it's not as bad as the other day when I kept calling Wimbledon MK Dons. I haven't done that once so far today, so on that one. So that's off. That honestly, I think someone's put a hit out on me in Wimbledon after that one. But going back to going back to Leo Castledine, he hits the post, and at that point, like Killer says, we're thinking we're going to win this game now. We're going to go on and win it, and we are playing well at this point. And then we fuck it up again.
No.
And it's a stupid free kick to give away, and another floaty ball into the box, and the guy heads it well. Goodman's got no chance. You can't lay that at him. And
I just think the mentality this season at times has
shooting
been
yourself in the
it's the mentality at times. Sometimes I think they all want to play well, but sometimes we seem to go missing in spots. We're quite even Wiles, who I do like when he's on song, but I feel like there's so many players who play patchy and they don't all play well at the same time, and it's that for me sometimes. And I feel like that's why it's been like that this season. It's like when we played Bradford away, and we were just we
don't speak of that.
But they scored two like straight, and you go, what, I don't know what someone scored. Like, let's keep it tight now, But it seems that mentality is not always there, and I feel like that's the thing really that we need to sort out going forward if we think we want to go higher up the league.
There's not a collective intelligence, is there? With
no, I don't feel that's what I mean. I feel like they don't know how to game management within a game themselves. So he can change it from the touchline, but I'm sort of like, where are those leaders that go, hang on a minute, come on, let's sit back for 5 minutes. They're all over us, or whatever that needs to be. We're very patchy, and like Wiles again is really creative. So they are going to come in and out of games, but there are times, like you say, he just don't look interested to me. And then there's bits where, like yesterday, and you think, oh wow, yeah, what a player. But you just never know what you're going to get.
Like box of chocolates.
Yeah.
Jerry, that free kick. I mean, you laughed with Balker, but it's what you get with him, isn't it? It's the imperfect centre back, isn't he? And this is why you kind of sat there thinking, I won't mind seeing him with Jack Watmore, because he's your aerially dominant defender who can't run, so Balker can cover for him when he can't run.
Yeah.
Feeney didn't have a greatest game, I don't think, yesterday. I think that's probably one of his poorest games so far. I'm not saying it's time for him to step out, because I think he's been brilliant since we signed him. I like Josh Feeney a lot. I do sometimes think a back three might suit them a little bit better in some circumstances, and maybe would suit Balker a little bit better, because he can then play that libero role where he can literally just run out into midfield and stay there for a little bit if he wants. But the free kick and the header, but then Town bring it back. It's another good ball in from the right hand side, and Bojan gets his head on it. It's a good save again, and Alfie May, who's come on, taps it in. And Killer will talk about this as well, but you kind of looked at when Town, and it was dead balls really. When Town lined up for dead balls, Alfie May was sat, and that's usually when you get your overlay of the system, the standing position. And Alfie May was kind of like stood at 10, and I'm still not sure whether Lee Grant brought him on to play at 10, or whether he just dropped deeper on set piece on dead balls and stuff, just to pick up seconds, be a bit sharper in and around midfield and pick them up and then play off it. But he was a little bit like Lyndon Gooch in that first half as well, especially his interview afterwards where he said it's the worst time of his life, etc. Which is obviously, I mean, he's felt it obviously, but I mean, he's had a good life so far. If it's the worst time, but it's like, you know,
quite well, mate.
But I know it's not been that bad.
Yeah.
But I can understand where he's coming from at the same point, where he wants to play football and he wants to get in and stuff. So I don't want to diminish that. But he's like, he came on, but he was a little bit all over the place, a bit too much again. And he said in his interview that he was trying to not do that for the team, but he kind of did that. And so we couldn't really tell where he was playing. But he popped up, Jerry, and he did what we signed him to do, and that's to be the fox in the box, the sniffer, the poacher, and get the tap in. It's a good save again from the keeper, and because it's a good save, I'm not gonna say he should be pushing it away like maybe he would with Goodman, but maybe Wimbledon. I'll leave that to the Wimbledon fans. But Alfie May's on the spot and he taps it in, and that's what we bought him to do. I'm just not sure whether he was supposed to be doing what he was doing, but it worked. And I think he's probably now thinking the next game, at Cardiff. I'm ignoring the Lincoln one for now, but the game at Cardiff, he's probably thinking, I want to start this one, and he might have earned it.
I would like to see Bojan and May together for exactly what we saw on that goal. We have some aerial presence from Bojan. We have May kind of picking up the pieces after, not just for necessarily like a goal type situation, but you punt it to Bojan from out of the back. If he gets like a good header on it, the player you want trying to run off of him is, I think, Alfie May, right? Like, I think he's an excellent choice for that. The goal to me is a great team goal. I think it's Ruskin who puts in the cross for Bojan, and the header I think is very good from Bojan. It's into the corner. I don't think the Wimbledon keeper has the chance to push it wide. I think that's one where he just has to get his hands onto it to make sure it doesn't go in the net, and anything else is gravy. And then May is Johnny on the spot. May is Johnny.
I think we should have the UK versus American versions of gravy discussed right now, Jerry. But that's on my agenda now. You've done that.
It's Christmas season. We can
not
discuss
gravy,
that
Jerry.
later.
It's just not gravy. I'm sorry. It's not. Stop it.
No, that's fine. We'll set that to the side and come back to it. But yeah, I think it's honestly a really good goal, even though it is a tap in from 3 yards after a save. And I think Town deserved it. You look at the stats. Town had 20 shots inside the box in this game. Like, that's like 2 to 3 games worth earlier in the season. Again, they put 3 goals past them. 26 or 27 shots in total to Wimbledon's like 6. Getting back to Wimbledon's third, on the one hand, no, it's not great from Balker. It was dumb to give away the free kick. At the same time, like, you look at the whole of the game, and we touched on a little bit before, Wimbledon only had, I think, 5 or 6 shots, and they scored on 3 of them. And 2 of those were on the same play, right, where they forced Goodman into the save and then they put it into the net. It's basically they had 3 real chances all game, and they scored off of all 3 of them. And all of them were good, to decent chances, however you want to rate the header there from Jackson, who is a very good header of the ball. To some extent, that goal, sometimes a team that's good at set pieces is going to put in a good set piece, and a good header of the ball is going to put the ball in the back of the net. Like, Town could have done a lot better, but I think you also have to give some credit to Wimbledon on that particular play as well. Not the others, but that one. It's just one of those games where sometimes your opponent doesn't create a lot and they just take their chances. And to me, that, particularly at the end of the game, that was kind of what I felt. I thought Town.
It was a good away performance, wasn't it, to be fair to them?
It was. Yes, absolutely. When they had the opportunities, they took them. And in some, could Town have done better? Absolutely. But at the same time, Town were very good on the attack. We're clearly better in terms of creating shots and creating chances. And, sometimes football happens. To me, this was, not to just, hand wave away, Town's problems in defense, and not to put everything on Goodman making an error. But, if Town win that game 3-1 or 3-2, I don't think any Wimbledon fans would have been walking out of the stadium saying, oh, well, that was unfair.
No, I don't think so. We'll wrap the game up now because we've been going a little while, and Killer's got only a few minutes before he has to go do some making up with the missus for all the podcasts that he does. True story, I think, isn't it, Killer?
Yeah, honestly, yes, yes, it is, Matt.
Yes. Did they get any free ice cream yesterday from you, the social boys?
£3.90 a tub. There's no way. There is no way I'm giving any of that away. I am a Yorkshireman, Matt. I may have been away for a few years, again, not in prison in Australia, but the Yorkshireness it still exists. Although I do want to just go back to the game for 1 second, Matt. Just 1 second, right? Because the free kick, I think the defensive line was far too deep. It was awful, actually. We were too deep by miles. Feeney drops early. Don't know why, but a good keeper, a solid keeper, a confident keeper screams at that line, doesn't let him drop. There was another issue there from the keeper for me, Matt. Also, the way we mark it, as you've mentioned, the way we're marking there, Castledine's actually on him initially. Is it Johnson who heads it in? I think he is. Castleδιne's on him, and now his job is to wrap his arms around him to stop him. He doesn't, just lets him run. He's running downhill against Balker, who's not great heading anyway. Balker, I can't give the error against him, Matt, in that position. It's more Castledine not stopping the run at all, not blocking him whatsoever. Normally, they're a bit clunky out the free kicks. There's normally arms here, there, and everywhere, and there's a lot of pushing and shoving, but the ref never gives anything other than a defensive free kick. Castledine doesn't do that in that moment, and that's a shame. It's just what really got me about the end of the game, Matt. Again, I know I'm going back into it. But at 2-2, I thought we'd give it a good go. May comes on, he drops into that 10 role, as you've mentioned, Matt, and all the tempo in the game just dropped. The only thing we had from that moment till the end of the game was really Ashia running down the left-hand side. That was really the only outlet. So whilst we didn't deserve to lose at all, it was kind of fortunate that we managed to create a chance to score, because I don't really think we created too much after going 2-2 and 2-3 down. I just thought it ended at a bit of a damp squib, because I thought, like you guys, Bojan and May would be the way forward. But honestly, having seen that, I'm not entirely convinced. So I do think May will get the start this week. He scored. I think he'll get a start next Saturday. But now I'm questioning whether it will work, because if he drops into that midfield, we'll have the same problems we had.
Got to be Bojan dropped, isn't it? It's got to be Bojan that does it.
Yeah, it was. It looked a bit of a mess at the end of that game for us, and that it was just not great the way it ended on just a bit of a downer. For 6 minutes of added on time, I think there was 3 Wimbledon throw-ins, and that was it. Apart from the corner where, like you say, Matt, the last moment of the game, Goodman nearly gifts them the 3 points. And apart from that, very little happened. It was just a strange way that the game ended, considering you'd expect the home team to really pile the pressure on and create more chances, but it didn't really feel like that happened. It was just a bit of a downer to end.
Yeah, so ending on a downer, but we'll bring it back up again, just like the Christmas trees, and we'll bring in the Andy Takes That Chance squad, and we've got a flashing red button, and we can check our voicemails to see what the boys thought of, and girls, if you ever want to get involved, thought of the match on Saturday.
Hello. There is no one here to take your call, so for your convenience, we have answered it automatically. Now don't hang up. When you hear the tone, leave your name and a brief message, and we will contact you upon our return.
Hey guys, it's Marcus here doing the Wimbledon review. A really frustrating game today. 3 silly errors has cost us what was a very winnable game, in a game that Town didn't actually play that poorly, but they've just made 3 silly errors and cost it. It's probably time for Lee Nichols back in goal. I do think he saves that and holds that ball. I don't think he makes the error that Goodman has. You've got to look at the rest of the team as well, because for sure they've made mistakes. But yeah, a really frustrating game. I'll talk about some positives. I thought Leo Castledine was really good. I thought that's his bar now. I want to see that every week from him now. It were really good. Trapped back, did everything he could do, got forward, and he gets his goal. And he had a few attempts that weren't far off. Thought Gooch were really good. And I thought it was a bit harsh for taking Sorensen off, but that were all right. I still have doubts over Lee Grant and his substitutions. I think he leaves things too late. I want him to roll the dice sometimes, but he don't. Anyway, on to the next one, up the Town.
John McNamara here, Northern Ireland's most handsome man. Fresh off the back of watching Huddersfield Town's 3-3 draw at home with Wimbledon. And yeah, I can't really say too much about the game that I haven't said already this season. I think there were a lot of tactical misgivings from Lee Grant this weekend. I think he got his selection wrong in a number of key areas, notably with the goalkeeper, Owen Goodman. And yes, a team who want to go up automatically in this league shouldn't really be drawing 3-3 at home with Wimbledon. But that's by the by. I don't particularly think that Town will do much this season. And I think today was just further proof of that, to be perfectly honest. Looking forward, I'm hoping that Chris Markham comes in, puts his stamp on the football club, and brings in a couple of players in January that can help with the real imbalance that we've got throughout the squad at the moment, which I think is contributing to some of these poor performances. And hopefully he can, he can speak to Lee Grant and give him some guidance and advice on a couple of things which I think he's getting wrong at the moment. Going forwards, hopefully, we start to improve as the season goes on, and realistically, we go again next season. It's not really an exciting time to be a Town fan, unfortunately.
Hi, it's James Bartby here. First time doing one of these for a few weeks. Wow, what a game yesterday. Going into it, probably 2 points dropped. You would hope to beat Wimbledon at home, wouldn't you? Even though they're exactly level with us in the table. But in the context of how the game went, considering we went behind 3 times, it's probably a point gained, isn't it? Great character to keep coming back. Should have won the game statistically if you look at the stats. we should have won it. 25 shots, 10 on target, 4 big chances created. We should have won the game. There's no doubt about that. But there are still positives. Leo Castledine scored again, had probably his best game in a Town shirt. Alfie May comes off the bench and scores, and for me, probably puts himself ahead of Dion now in the starting lineup. 2 substitutes came on and scored. He's been much maligned as Grant with his subs, especially down at Luton, because they just didn't seem to have any plan with them. But Ben Wiles and Alfie have come on and scored, so you've got to say he got them right yesterday. Biggest negative, obviously, is the goalkeeper. I just don't think he can play for us again. I really think you've just got to put Nichols back in, and he's just your number one now. There's just, I can't see there being any trust between the defence and the goalkeeper. It's probably better to send him back in January as well, to be honest, and either leave him there or send him elsewhere. But yeah, it's got to be Nichols now for me. Does make Tuesday very interesting from a team lineup point of view, because the likes of Bojan, Dion and Cam Ashia, they would all be players that you would give minutes to in the Virtue. But they're now all starting in the league, so I don't know what he's going to do on Tuesday, but hey, that's for him to worry about, isn't it?
Hi, Billy Town here, commenting on the Wimbledon match. Probably, as usual, frothing less than most people, but real disappointment, real smash and grab. We let them have 3 good chances and 3 goals, which shows how piss poor really the defending and the covering was on those specific occasions, because we were really good for most of the rest of the game. A particular comment, I thought, for the 10-12 minutes before his goal in the second half, Ben Wiles was playing really well, but then after his goal and after they equalised again, or after they went ahead again, we just started launching the ball forward and lost the control that we'd had before, which was really disappointing. But there we go. The wall would be my other complaint as well, really, and just people switching off. So on to the next game. Fingers crossed for a better result.
The mailbox is full and cannot accept any messages at this time. Goodbye.
Okay. Fairly positive, I think, overall, on the voicemail this week. Probably more positive than me. Right, so there was an appointment this week, wasn't there, for Huddersfield Town, and I've already started getting some stick over this on the Discords and stuff like that, and Killer has poured petrol all over the flames like the shithouse that he is. So Huddersfield Town have appointed Chris Markham this week, so I thought what I should do is message him, say well done, and see if I could get a word for the podcast. And let's just go to this. Okay, so I messaged him. First one I got, who is this? No, not that one. It's 2 a.m. Stop mess. No, not that one. He said he was on Cloud 9. That's it, basically. I won't get any more from Chris ever on Huddersfield Town matters. And anyone who asks me, he's far too professional for any of that, so he's not going to tell me anything anymore, unfortunately. But it's something I've been asking for years. Is this Chris Markham's Huddersfield Town through and through? Season ticket when he was a kid. He grew up in, I think it's Emily Moore. I am going to write an article about it at some point, and this is probably the gist of it, so you probably don't need to if you listen to this. But essentially grew up supporting Huddersfield. His dad's a massive fan. When Chris asked him if his dad wanted to go watch Bolton, he told him to do one and said, no, I've got my season ticket for Huddersfield. So that's the Markham family are blue and white through and through. And so is Chris. He even took a job at Huddersfield unpaid as an intern because it's his club. You know what I mean? You do it to get the foot in the door, etc. But he worked his way up when he joined in 2010. He always used to describe himself as Steve Black's biggest fan back in the days under Lee Clark. But he moved up in terms of what he did. He was an analyst. He not only analysed the opposition, but he analysed players and recruitment. And at that point in 2015 towards 2016, David Wagner asked him to go and find him a centre-back and came up with several options. Chris did the work on the centre-back, and Chris's pick for the centre-back was Killer in 2016. You're crap at these games, aren't you, Danny?
Schindler. Yeah, Chris.
Look,
all right,
Schindler.
There
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay.
So, so was it all down to Chris? No. But he was the one who did the work. And, so that it kind of indicates that he's got an eye for talent, because a lot of that team where the work was done by him on that for Stuart Webber, etc. He left Huddersfield in I think it was January 2016 to get a job at the FA, basically to get paid because he was an intern. The FA offered him a job. He did a lot of work across the men's and women's teams for England. He was the guy that Gareth Southgate gave a lot of credit to after England beat Colombia in the World Cup, and you can find that article online as well. They looked at different ways that England took penalties, the mentality behind it, the different steps, so much detail into that. And then England won the next couple of penalty shootouts. He did get the Bolton job. I know someone came back and said, "Yeah, it didn't do them any good against Italy in the final of in the Euros 2020. Well, unfortunately for you, he'd already gone to Bolton, so technically you can't sling that one at him because he were at Bolton for 3 months before that. So gobshite. So anyway, apart from that, another Bolton fan, you shoot him down.
Is this going to be you, Matt? Is this going to be you for the next?
It's just going to be me.
Just defend everything online that you can scrape off against Chris Martin.
Sling the rook. But basically, he went to Bolton. Bolton were 20th in League Two when he joined, and I've seen Bolton fans say, "Oh, yeah, we got promoted that year, but it's nothing to do with Chris." All right, yeah, so it's nothing to do with the guy that looks at the opposition every week and comes up with a game plan on how to beat them, and you go from 20th to 3rd in the table. Yeah, nothing to do with him at all. But he's good at what he does, basically. He's thorough. He's a recruitment analyst, and I think what's quite important behind the scenes is that I think the last few years with Anne Hoff going and everything, and the Hoff, I think Huddersfield have lost that. I've just lost someone high up who's Huddersfield Town through and through, and I think you kind of need that. You need, we have had Dean Hoyle over the years, and Phil Hodgkinson was there as well. I know he spends more time watching Liverpool these days, but he was there as a Huddersfield fan. You've had Anne Hoff, you've had other people quite high up, and I think that's something Huddersfield have always done really well. In that they've always had good people from Huddersfield do roles quite high up, and DTS is he's obviously moved up as well. Killer's just had to sling his hook now because his missus has given him the eye. But I think for me it's a good appointment. I'm slightly nervous because I think football fans in general look at the sporting director of role like the first caveman looked at fire. And like the people of Salem, to make this to American for you, Jerry, the people of Salem looked at women when witches were around. So I am a little bit nervous that he'll get blamed for anything because that's what sporting directors do. But for me, there's a guy here from Huddersfield willing to work 24/7, 365 days a year to make 1% of difference. And I think that is why I'm happy that he's got the job. And I think he'll do a good one. It's just the only problem with the sporting director is you can't tell if he's doing a good job unless the team on the pitch are really good. And that mostly is down to the manager. So we'll see how that one goes. But you guys, you can disagree with me if you want and say he's rubbish. But
I agree with you. I think it's a great appointment. I think having someone, like you say, Huddersfield through and through is great. And I'm excited to see what he can do and if he's got any ideas for January, because I think we're going to need to, with all the injury, because I think I don't know what goes on at Town, but we seem to have more injuries than anybody. So we might need to bring some in, I would imagine. But I think it's exciting. It's exciting.
Yeah, we need a director of football. You asking a manager to scout and recruit and do all of these other things and manage the team, to me, is not realistic in the year 2025. Like I don't think any really well-run clubs, that's how things are working in this day and age. We need a director of football. Like if you want to go through one window like they did over the summer, credit to the folks at Town. I thought the summer window was really good. That makes sense. If you're trying to execute a vision over a number of windows, you need somebody in charge who's not the manager. And so we needed to bring somebody in. I think I certainly don't see any other candidates that I would say, oh, well, they should have hired that guy instead. Everything I've read about Markham, everything I've heard about him says that this is the guy. I'm delighted that he's in. Yeah.
That's good. Yeah. I mean, hopefully it goes well, but basically he's there to help Lee Grant is what we know. He's not quite done his interview with Raj and or Arthur yet. So interesting to see what he says. He generally doesn't do a lot of media stuff, but I think sometimes with Town as well, Town fans need accountable directors and accountable people. They like to hear from their owners. They like to hear from the directors of football. They like to hear from the managers, etc. And otherwise, I think town fans get a little bit suspicious, don't they? So I remember the guy that replaced Sean Jarvis. I think he was he called Danny Ward as well, or something like that, or David Ward, or something like that. I can't remember his name because he never spoke. And basically everyone had the daggers for him because he never spoke. They never understood what he did. And I think sometimes you've got to be visible, especially in football. It's not just town fans. I think in football you've got to be visible. Otherwise, people will start to question what you do. So I think visibility and accountability is always massive. And I think anybody who comes into a job at Huddersfield has to show that. Otherwise, the fans will start to ask questions, and as they should, because that's what football fans do. As DTS himself says, you got to keep them honest, haven't you? So, yeah, I'm excited to see what Chris can do. But a sporting director only does so much, and I think part of the role, and I don't want to be derogatory to anyone really, but I think one of the problems with directors of football, sporting directors, head of football operations, whatever you want to call them, Jerry, there's so many titles, isn't there? And that confuses things. Is I don't think football fans always know exactly what a director of football does. I think they just think that he signs footballers over the manager's head, which is not true whatsoever. I think the best way to look at a sporting director is basically, when you think of school, you have your head of years and you have your head of a department head, so to speak. So basically you would have different departments and they all feed into the sporting director. So you'll have your recruitment department headed at the minute by Lee Mabry, which will fold into him. The academy department headed by John Worthington will go into him. You've got the women's side by Glenn Preston, and it was David Mallon. I can't remember the chairman's name off the top of my head. That'll feed into him. You've got your medical department, which will feed into him. I've bored Jerry already. He's just walked off. And then all the different analysis, everything, it all feeds into him, and he overlooks all these departments. He doesn't run every department. So I think sometimes when people have slagged Mark Cartwright off for say, oh, Mark Cartwright's picked this player, that's almost as that. I suppose that's the same thing as saying, "Oh, this player's injured. Why hasn't Mark Cartwright done a sports massage on him?" Do you know that's the sort of the role of the sporting director, is that you've got to have the right team in place underneath you, and I think that's something that he'll get right fairly quickly. So, but it might be a long term thing. So I wouldn't expect fireworks in January, Jerry. I think that's usually when a sporting director, usually when plans for the next I'll say that again. The plans for the next transfer window are usually made as before the other transfer windows close. So that's usually way in advance, and there's usually advanced plans. But we'll be interested to see what he says. Radio Leeds said they've asked to speak to him as well. So I'd ask, but I don't think the club would want me to speak to him. So we'll see how it goes. We'll move on. So from one Huddersfieldian having great success, we'll go on to the next one with Mr. Kirrane, not Kirrane, as I called you last time and got scolded for. Danny, you I think last time you were on, we had a chat, and I were asking you what are you doing next? What are your sort of future projects and stuff? And you said to me, "Oh, I'm in this little thing on Netflix called Baby Reindeer." I mean, that
is that how long ago it was? Yeah, but that went crazy.
Did all right, didn't it?
Yeah, I didn't expect. None of us expected that.
Even the real woman came out, didn't she? For
yeah, it was that was wild. None of us, including Richard, the creator, expected that. I mean, that was So I'm busy at the moment. I'm doing a play in London. I'm doing a Midsummer Night's Dream at the Globe, and it's coming up to Leeds actually in February for 3 weeks. So
you're gonna scalp some tickets
if anybody wants to come. Any town fans want to come? I play bottom, but in this version, it's quite a dark version. He's like an executive chef, like Gordon Ramsay. So it was quite dark. And then, but I've got a film coming out next year, which I'm excited about, with Tom Cruise.
Oh, nice.
Very nice.
And it's directed by the guy who directed Revenant and Birdman. So I think it could be, so it makes, I can't say much more than that about it, but I think it's going to be a big one, hopefully. It was really amazing thing to shoot, so yeah, I'm excited. Things are good.
That's really cool. Isn't it? There was I watched some comedy thing recently. I was listening to I was listening to so podcast wise. I listen to Steve and Dave, and I listen to Adam Jarrell. I don't know if you've met Adam Jarrell. He lives in London as well.
No,
He's the guy. Honestly, is so good. He does the podcast for The Offensive and at the minute Sherlock and Co. And I'm listening to. I've got his Patreon or their Patreon. So I'm going through the back catalogue again, listening to Sherlock and Co. And there is an episode series called the Red-Headed League where they where they get this guy basically to get him out of his house so the bad guys, if you like, to get him out of the house to rob a bank, digital bank next to him. They offer him this role of a lifetime in the same film as Tom Cruise. But what they do, is they have him like just reading lines in London somewhere when Tom Cruise never turns up, just to get him out of the house so they can rob a bank. So if you live next to a bank, Danny, I'm going to be a bit skeptical about this.
And he definitely was there. He definitely was there. The first sort of 10 minutes of the film were just me and him, so we spent a long time with him. He was great, I have to say. He's so talented, isn't it? And he's going to shock everyone in this because it's not like Mission Impossible. It's like character acting he's doing. It's going to be phenomenal, I think.
I'm trying to think of the one that he did. Where is it? The end of Tropic Thunder?
Yeah,
where he plays the bad guy. He's amazing in that.
Yeah, no, he's a phenomenal actor. I just think sometimes when you do action movies, it doesn't require as much character acting. So this is going to be. I think it's going to be really good. Excited.
I'm looking forward to that one. We'll definitely push that. And when you come up to Leeds for that play, I reckon a few of us need to go up with town scarves on and just wave them.
You'll enjoy it. I think it's good. It's fun. And
I live in Leeds City Centre. I've got no excuse.
Yeah.
So it's like 20 minutes walk. So just remind me when it's on, and I'll be there waving my scarf around when you're doing your scenes and stuff. So that'll be fun. But no, mate, it's good to see that you're doing great, and every one of us wishes you the best of success because you deserve it. Because you're good at what you do, and I know that it probably embarrasses you a little bit, but you're good. It's great now. It's
a little bit of that.
Yeah, there you go. Jerry, big win for Town Women. 1-0 at Withenshaw. They've had a little bit of a setback recently against Leeds. Unfortunately, the old enemy there. They lost in the cup last week. Lost in the big match at the stadium as well. Both times, I think Town probably would have expected or thought they would have won on the balance of play, but they haven't. But a 1-0 win away at Withenshaw puts them back in the hunt for that one top spot, which guarantees you promotion back to the FA Women's Premier League North. And I think I might get Beth Stanfield back on quite soon just for an update. But it's good to see them pick up the win and get back on the hunt as well. And there've been some decent results for the Town under-21s and under-18s recently as well. The website quite happily published some decent results, and Town legend Jonathan Hogg turning out for the under-21s at the stadium, which is interesting, isn't it? I think I like the idea of this. I've seen so many clubs do it. I mean, Town used to do it when the under-23s, they used to have Ian Bennett in goal, and Ian Bennett used to guide a lot of them through. And I understand people's criticisms of it, where they think, he's taking a spot from a youngster, or maybe youngsters are too conditioned to receiving so much instruction that they become robotic, so they need someone to talk them through it. And I understand that criticism, but I think when you go back to how players used to come through, it used to be like this anyway with the reserves, with the reserve league. And I think a lot of people miss the reserve leagues, and you would find yourself coming up against an experienced player or playing next to an experienced player. And I think it did a lot of kids a lot of good. And we're at a stage now in youth football where there are so many good, talented players coming through. I think England in particular have got a really good handle on youth development in a lot of ways, especially the top clubs. Your Man City, I mean, they just go around poaching anyway, but they still have brilliant development centres. And even if your kid's like my kid, he's kind of been asked to go to an academy development centre, which he starts next week. But aside from that, he goes to like a private academy as well, and the coaching there is just as good as a proper academy. And then they move on from those to professional clubs when they're a bit older sometimes as well. So there's so much going right in England at the minute. I know private academies can be expensive, and some of them are better than others, and some are different. But the ones he goes to is really good. And I think we're doing it really well, and there's a lot of good players at the top of the English game, and we've seen Castledine coming through. And I think sometimes when you get to the top, you just need that extra help pushing through. And if you're not a top talent, and the physical difference between where they are in the under-21s and the first team is really vast, that I think playing with a Hogg or playing with a Jay Spearing at Liverpool or whatnot, I think that does them a lot of good, and seeing how these people train and seeing how their approach to the game. And I'm all for it, and I think Jonathan Hogg's perfect for it. And I know there's a little joke, there's jokes going around that you can imagine Hoggy stood there in the middle of the pitch bollocking, like misplacing a pass and bollocking everyone else on there. But honestly, I think he'll be brilliant. I think it's a role made for him. Yeah.
I think it's great. I think it's great for him. You know, who better to learn off about desire and, you know what I mean, fitness. You know, he'd run through a brick wall, Hogg. So I think it's great for young kids to see that work ethic, really, because that's what he's like. He does everything like that, doesn't he? So he'll be. I think it'd be useful.
I mean, when he takes his shirt off, he looks better than anyone else anyway. So there's that as well, isn't there? You're gonna have kids go, I'm gonna have to get some of that My Protein that Jonathan Hogg does.
Exactly, yeah, exactly.
He's unreal, isn't he? He's an absolute machine. Yeah. So I mean, that's great, and I think that's all we've got time for this week. We've gone on for a good hour and a half. Killer's been dragged out by his ear, but from the missus. It's been a good chat this week, boys. Thanks, Danny, for coming back on, and I'll try to get to that play in February. Is it Midsummer's Dream that you said in
Midsummer
February?
Night's Dream? Yeah,
Midsummer Night's Dream. It's Shakespeare, isn't it?
Shakespeare, but it's a modern
almost
word.
showed my complete ignorance to the English literature then, but I was like, I'm sure I'm right. I'll say it anyway, just in case. But sure. Yeah. But get along to that in February. Whereabouts? Do we know whereabouts in Leeds?
It's Leeds Playhouse.
Yeah, West Yorkshire Players. I know that well. It's down at the bottom by the bus station. So there's plenty of buses from Huddersfield to Leeds, and then you just hop across the road, and there you are. So we'll get along to that, Danny. No problem. It might be a bit harsh on asking Jerry to turn up from Alabama. But,
Jerry, isn't it?
I mean, if it's good though, Danny. I mean, he might.
How's the weather in Leeds in February, guys?
Not great.
Horrible.
Not worth it, Jerry. Not worth it.
It's literally the worst month of the
Even
year.
I don't want to go to Leeds in February.
I don't have a choice. But the wind whips up, it rains. It's
horrible.
It's literally January and February are the worst months. I remember I used to go to uni at Leeds Metropolitan, and now it's Beckett's Park, and used to walk across in January and February. Used to walk across the green that they have at the front, in front of the main building, and the wind just used to wipe you out. It's in that time. It's just it's a windy time of year. Is that, Jerry? It's Chicago-esque, shall we say? Yeah. But that's it. Thanks everyone for listening, and just finally, one final thing. So, just. Lots of love sending to our mate Cozzy, Richard Kosmala. He's a bloke who means a lot to us and everyone who listens to the podcast. I'm sure he's a great guy, and if you see him, just buy him a non-alcoholic beer because he doesn't drink anymore, and I'm sure he'll be the life and soul of every meeting before too long. So Cozzy, we love you, mate, and this one's for you.
There's a team that is dear to its followers. The colours are bright blue and white. They're a team of renown, and they're the pride of the town. And the game of football is their delight. And all the while upon the field of play, thousands loudly cheer them on the way. Often you can hear them say, who can beat the town today? And then the bells will ring so merrily, and every goal shall be a memory. So town, play up and bring that cup back to Huddersfield. So the town play up and bring the cup back to Huddersfield.